This is Sophistry,
a show where we dive into the world of video games and tech, telling you how to spend your money.
Isn't that nice of us?
Here are your gaming hosts, Andy Borkowski and Shaggy Dave.
The show's about to begin.
VGS.
Shall we play a game?
Begins now.
Andy Borkowski here, Talk Radio AM 640, VGS, your show all about video games. We're a week away from Valentine's Day. It is a very exciting time. Love is in the air in this great city of Toronto, and I know who will be my Valentine.
Aw.
Sorry, it wasn't you.
Oh, but you pointed, I guess, to the mic?
There's actually a very nice cleaning lady that was outside.
Oh, I see. Yeah, she's very nice.
I've been
like
sharing
to be a
glances with her for a couple weeks now, so
interesting.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Interesting. Very
pretty excited. Shaggy Dave, what's up, man?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Excellent. I'm really excited for this week's show.
Me too. I'm excited for everything.
That sounded really forced.
No, it's not.
It wasn't?
It's not forced. It's been a long day.
It has been a long day.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today? I know I'm going to talk about the feature interview.
Okay.
That's, the bread and biscuits of this. But we have some guests who are going to join the program this week. Very excited. They've helped us out all day. We thought, hey, let them share some of the spotlight.
Yeah. We also have a very, very special guest today.
Who's that?
Mr. Joker.
Oh, for those of us watching on YouTube now, which of course you can see this entire show on YouTube, VGS, just type that in. And if you want to see us online, 640tron.com/VGS. Enough with plugging. You have a little toy.
It's a lovely gift. I guess it's an early Valentine's Day gift.
It is. It was from me to you.
From a secret admirer.
Oh, it was from a secret admirer.
Give away his name or her name. Never know.
I got him a little pen thing that when you shine it out, it's a picture of the Joker vis-a-vis Batman Arkham Asylum.
It's actually Arkham City.
Arkham City, excuse me.
The best part is that on the actual packaging, it says Batman Arkham Origins, but the flashlight says Batman Arkham City.
Again, very exciting radio.
And
very, very exciting radio.
Was it your intention to leave the price tag on?
I wanted you to know I love you for that many amount of dollars.
I am worth $9.99 Canadian dollars.
All right. So this week on the show, thank you again,
so welcome,
David
Mr.
Sprigello.
J.
Welcome, Mr. J. On the show, we're going to talk a lot about the big game that a lot of people played this week. They got a chance to get early access to the first beta of The Division.
Yeah.
You and I played a lot of it. We really enjoyed it. We had our ups and downs. Like, I can't wait to talk about it because...
So, yeah, we didn't just play it. We played it together.
We did, and we don't play a lot of games together, so I'm pretty excited about this.
An absolute disaster that turned out to be.
All right, and we're also going to talk about this new phenomenon known as Twitch. And when I say new, I mean the phenomenon of 2013. It's been around for a few years. If you're not familiar with it, it's probably something your kids watch on a daily basis more than they do TV. And we're going to give you all the information, what it's about, maybe if you should check it out. And of course, our feature interview this week is Sean Vanaman from Campo Santo Studios. He is creating the game Firewatch. It's the big indie title release that's coming up this week. We go big into the process of development. He's actually from Telltale, those narrative story-driven games.
I love Telltale.
Yeah. So he's from Telltale. There's some Mark of the Ninja guys, a great game, a BioShock game, Minerva's Den. Okay. Which it's actually DLC, one of the best games I've ever played. So all these top-tier talent came together to make a game. And it's Firewatch, and I've been playing it a bit, and I got to say, it's a contender for Game of the Year.
Yeah, you told me, and then I checked out the trailer, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go. But before we get to that, we have a new feature, a new little segment here, a nice glimpse into...
What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's new, pussycat?
Yes, indeed. What is new, Pussycat? We are going through the upcoming video game releases that'll be on this coming Tuesday. Start of the week on Sunday.
Yes.
We thought it's appropriate to,
Did you know that, by the way? A lot of people think it's Saturday, but it's not.
No one thinks it's Saturday.
A lot of people do.
So the first big game coming out this week, Assassin's Creed. How do you say that?
Assassin's Creed?
Oh, do you think I would know that? Assassin's Creed Chronicles. Too many consonants there. Russia. So they had a lot of the indie titles. They were in China. They were in India. Now they're finishing up the 2D side-scroller in Russia. What's the next big title?
Dying Light: The Following. Yes. I've never played this because you won't let me borrow it. I've
No,
asked you
it's-
multiple times.
It's fun. So the following is a standalone new expansion pack. Dying Light's a great title from, I think it was last year, and can't wait to play it. The next big one is Unravel. If anyone's seen this, it's this really kind of cutesy, tongue-in-cheek look at how would you even describe it? I guess it's just a man made of yarn that is slowly unraveling. It's kind of a 2D mix with a little bit of stop motion. Really cool. But I know this next game is something you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, forgive me if I'm butchering because I'm very excited about it. Naruto Shippuden or something like that.
Some people are
Again,
mad
don't
now.
hate me. I
People
don't
are
know.
mad.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
All right.
I'm not a big anime guy. Ultimate Ninja Storm 4.
Say the whole thing.
Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4.
Listen, it's a lot of words, but look it up on YouTube, and it's a pretty exciting
You
game.
said there was like blue fire twisters coming out or something like that.
That's all you need.
Okay.
That's the selling point.
I'm convinced, Dave. Done.
Convinced Dave. Of course, Firewatch is coming out this Tuesday. We talked to the lead writer and the developers behind that. Big game. And the final big release of this week, sir?
Again, forgive me if I'm butchering it. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Alakine's Gun 1? Oh, sorry, Alakine's Gun. I guess it is the first one.
It is the first one,
He
so
doesn't have
Alakine's Gun.
Another gun.
Those are the big releases of this week. Next up, we're going to take a quick break, and then after this, we're going to get into our news of the week, get you up to date of everything happening in the world of video games. Andy Burkowski here, joined by Shaggy Dave, Talk Radio, AM 640.
Now back to Video Game Sophistry with Andy and Dave on Talk Radio, AM 640.
God, I love that beat.
Do-do-do-do-do.
That's David.
Do-do-do.
That's Andy.
Anyway.
Video Game Sophistry, talking all about video games this week. Have a very packed show. We talked about it in our intro, dealing with Firewatch. Real excited about that game.
It looks pretty good, man.
I'm telling you, I've been playing a little bit. I think you're gonna love it. I found a little turtle. I named him, put on my knapsack, and it's talk about a Valentine. Like it's true love.
Did you name it Valentine?
I didn't. I
What'd you
named it. What was it? It was like Balthazar or something.
What the hell is that?
It's a good name. That's what it
Balthazar the
is.
Turtle?
Balthazar the Turtle. So if you want to hear more about Balthazar the Turtle, David Spargala, where can they get that much needed information?
We could go to the ocean. No, in all seriousness, you go to 640toronto.com.
That's the first time you've ever genuinely made me laugh.
You go to 640toronto.com/VGS. You click on the audio button.
That's it.
There's all our shows from this week, last,
Yes.
and years ago.
Years ago.
You can grab it off there.
And again, of course, VGS at 640toronto.com.
Is our email. That's
Yes,
right? Yes,
indeed.
you're learning.
See, I know it now. But our big one this week that I'm very excited, we have, if you're watching this on YouTube, congratulations. This is one of the first shows we put up there. We had, a producer here to help us with that. So big round of applause. Again, if you can see this, always wonderful. But before we get to that, we have, of course, our news of the week with Shaggy Dave.
This week in gaming.
I've got to do the news!
Our big topic of conversation today, we had our news of the week. We discussed what games are coming out. We wanted to touch a little bit on a incident that happened this week that everyone's talking about involving a streaming service called Twitch and a UFC fighter with the aptly named moniker Mighty Mouse.
You guys come in at that time, so let me go ahead and close down the stream. No, come in here. Come on in here. I'm going to show you guys. Show the world that I don't cheat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I get a knock on the door. Like I thought it was the police. That was the police. But no, it comes out to be USADA. So they want to take my blood and my urine. So, unfortunately, I have to close down the stream because I got to make sure I take care of my legal issues to make sure the champ is not HEH or steroid.
All right, yeah, so that's a UFC fighter that was using the streaming service Twitch to play a video game Bloodborne. And as he was interacting with fans, apparently like tens of thousands, the drug testers actually came in. And he used it. He's such a showman that he used them as a jumping off point to become a news item. And I think a lot of people, because this reached kind of popular news. It wasn't just as more mainstream, not just video game news. And we got a lot of questions about what exactly is Twitch.
Do we know?
Do we know? We have
don't.
we don't yet, but we're going to in a few minutes. We have two souls here to help us on our quest. Matt, the intern, intern number 1, not because of his value, but mostly because he's in front of me.
Didn't quit last week.
Didn't quit last week.
How you doing, Matt?
Pretty good yourself, Andy?
Excellent, excellent. And
Beautiful.
we're joined by a new voice here. He is the man behind the camera, but today he came in to tell us all about Pokemon as a community on Twitch. Frank, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about you?
That's not what Frank sounds like. All right, so
It's good energy.
Twitch. I'll start us off. Basically, just a basic primer. Twitch is a service in which you access a webcam or any sort of video content, and you stream it live on a server that is then interacted with by as many people that have access to that stream. Usually, it's done with a specific video game in mind. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes it is a video game that requires episodic content. A lot of developers use this service to kind of show different aspects of the game before they're out, but it's also a really great service for personalities. A lot of the big YouTubers that were these larger-than-life personalities took the transition into Twitch. And I know, Matt, you are familiar with this one crazy SOB that is apparently one of the most popular people that uses the service. Who am I talking about?
Talking about Swifty. Now, Swifty is this guy streams 24/7. He's got a gaming house that people fly into just to stay and play. So this guy used to be a World of Warcraft player, and literally, like, just making YouTube videos. He decided to merge over to Twitch, right? Now, with this process and being able to have unlimited upload, he's always allowed to stream.
Mm-hmm.
So people are watching him eat breakfast, make a bagel with cream cheese. Holy Mackinac, like something like that, right? Just making a cream cheese bagel.
I immediately think of like the Truman Show. Like that's the movie that pops into my head at that point. While he was describing this, Shaggy Dave, you were shaking your head furiously. For those watching on YouTube, you obviously saw it. What's the deal, bro?
Who cares? Seriously, I don't care about your life. If you're going to make a reality show out of it, maybe that's the plan.
What if it's Mike Tyson or someone like that?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, what if it's a big, funny, like, celebrity?
Well, what's the difference between watching, like, Kim Kardashian or watching this guy do his thing, right?
I would rather watch this guy than Kim Kardashian forever.
Well, I guess that's the sliding scale, right? People are using this, I thought, predominantly for video game content, but apparently they're using it just to showcase themselves a little bit more.
But the thing is, why are you watching this? This guy's eating breakfast.
All right, but I posed the question to you, Dave.
Yes.
Why did you spend so many hours playing Batman Arkham Knight twice, beating it 100% nearly twice to get the 234% completion rate? A lot of people, fairly, would look at that and say, why would you do that? Like the same things you're talking about Twitch. So you have that line there. Why? Why is that?
A couple reasons. Number one, there wasn't anything else to play.
Okay.
Number two, there's an achievement. Number three, I enjoy the game. Number four, I'm not broadcasting it live.
Do you think that's all it is, though? That it's just because it's the broadcasting live thing? Because I'm worried, though, because I get it. I feel the same way. Like, I look at this stuff, and mostly it's just people playing games and talking about games, which for me is a terrible way to experience a game. Like, I would not want... Like, imagine playing Mass Effect, and you hear some chirpy voice in the background.
Dude, even when I'm trying to grab clips for my news, I always look at these videos. Okay, this is the walkthrough. I know what this part is. Yeah, we're walking through here, and we're doing that. Like, oh, dude, I just want the clip. Just stop talking.
See, I get it. I feel that sentiment.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. But I don't want to indict a new way that people are enjoying these games too quickly, because so many people do that of this entire industry we love. There's so much just terrible indictment of gamers as being people that are wasting their time. So I get it, but I know, Frank, you actually enjoyed and were able to experience something in Twitch that made you want to stay a little bit. What am I referring to here?
A little while back, there was something called Twitch Plays Pokemon, where essentially everyone would, in the chat box, type in up, down, left, right, A, B, whatever, and that would move the character. It took them like a couple hours to get out of his bedroom, but eventually they beat the Elite Four. And it created its own lore. They kept using the Helix fossil, which is something you're not supposed to be able to use, and it turned into the god of the game, and they created nicknames for the characters, and they all had personalities, and they created fan fiction, and a Venomoth defeated the Elite Four, and it was the all-terrain Venomoth, and that means nothing to you, but to somebody who's part of the Twitch community, that's like a big deal. Like it was something I look back on fondly.
Is it just that they created a subculture, or is it the idea that you're part of a community?
It's both.
Yeah.
Like I would read the lore and get really into it, and then I'd also go on the Reddit and the subforums, and I'd be talking to people about stuff. And you know what? It was nice.
Well, that's a big point. Like, I think that's something we should all consider, because how much do we love video games because of the culture surrounding it? You know, when I interview someone like Chris Avalon, who is one of the best writers in the video game industry, about the really nerdy minutia of Fallout New Vegas, I'll get messages from people saying like, oh man, that's the stuff I always wanted to know. That's why we love these things. That's why we love Star Wars. That's why we love Marvel, because we want to be part of a culture that gets it. Maybe not lionize the personalities as much. You know, maybe put that down a little bit. Let the community speak for itself. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking forward to. And speaking of community, that's what we're going to be talking about next. The Division beta. Big beta that came out this week. So exciting. We all really loved it. We're going to talk about what we liked about it, what we didn't, and what we think needs to change. That's up next. This is VGS Talk Radio, AM 640.
This is VGS with Andy and Dave on Talk Radio, AM 640.
For those of you who do not recognize this music, it is the music that millions of people enjoyed over the last weekend. The Division, a beta was released from Ubisoft. That was some of the intro music there. And many of our studio friends here got a chance to play through the beta. I want to ask you all, again, Andy, I will start because I am the host. One word I would use to describe the beta experience: innovative. David Spargala, do you have one word in mind? We didn't practice this. It's not on our show prep. Anything in mind?
Fun. No show prep. So.
Video games are fun. You did it, Dave.
Yeah,
all
very
right.
enjoyable.
Matt the intern, what was your one word to describe the Division?
Aggressive.
Aggressive. See?
I'm going to change mine.
Stupid.
No,
Sorry, okay.
That was the last segment.
That was your last segment, sorry.
Chaotic.
Chaotic, okay. So we got innovative, aggressive, chaotic. These are just words. Let's talk a little bit more about that overall experience. Basically, the Division puts you in an alternate universe where a virus has killed millions of people in Manhattan, in New York. And it's right around the Christmas time, and they think it had something to do with money and the transfer of money. And anarchy reigns. You know, everyone who is a criminal, apparently in Ubisoft mind, it's anyone who is a minority, because everyone you're killing happens to be minorities. And they have masks on. They have half masks on, but, you know, it's pretty clear. And you are a Division soldier. You're an agent in the Division, and you're there to reach a level of normalcy. It's an open world, massive multiplayer game. It's a third-person shooter. It has strong shooter mechanics, but it also has really, really strong RPG mechanics. It's a lot of fun. You know, Dave and I, we actually played this together.
We did. I couldn't believe it. Every time I try to invite you to a party or a game, it's just ignored, and then he goes offline.
That's exactly what it is. But for the Division, for you, Dave, I thought we should, and we had a lot of fun. Matt, I know that you really enjoyed the level of immersion.
I loved it.
In this game. So give us, give a moment, describe a moment in this game that for you really encapsulated why it's such an immersive experience.
I mean, besides, every citizen coming up and coughing, saying, like, oh, man, besides that, I mean, just walking around the streets of New York just never felt so real.
Yeah.
I mean, the snow and the actual weather environments are insane. Like, you'll be fighting, and then out of nowhere, a blizzard comes. And you're just surrounded with all this snow and fog, and you're just like, whoa, what's going on, man? But, I mean, other than that, like, you're going into buildings, just, like, searching in and out, and it's absolutely insane.
A lot of garbage, right? There's a lot of garbage. There's a lot of decay that you see from what would happen if a city with millions of people all of a sudden had 90% of their population gone.
Seagulls, dogs everywhere.
Now,
no cats.
Speaking of the dogs, was I the only one that shot and killed every dog?
Okay,
I saw
before
in this game?
PETA comes in here and arrests us here, okay? I also did.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just feels so bad, especially being a dog owner, just hearing the sound effects.
I was surprised at first that it would let you do that. You couldn't kill the people, like if there's a random civilian that comes up to you.
Yeah, they ate bullets like it was nothing.
Yeah, but if you shoot a dog from half a click away, it like explodes in rage.
And yet again, the word of the day: aggressive.
It is. It's very aggressive. But so you really enjoyed the level of immersion. It was something for you that made a full-fledged experience.
Yeah, you know what? It was everything. If I can compare it to another game, everything that I wanted in DayZ.
Okay.
DayZ was a survival game and stuff, but this game honestly, at its core, I am so excited for.
Excellent. Well, I really enjoyed it because I'm a big RPG guy and a base building guy, and there is so much of that in here. You know, you have random number generation. You have huge amounts of customization of every weapon that you could possibly own. You're looking for enemies that have names and level types. It reminded me a lot of when I first jumped into World of Warcraft this many eons ago. It was new, it was innovative, and it was a really fun experience to play with friends. It's a little bit different than Destiny, in that in Destiny there's open world environments, then you take your friends or the other people you want in your party and go into missions with. Whereas this game, the open worlds did kind of feel a bit empty. There wasn't a lot of other players there because plainly they weren't able to. You had to invite them into your party. I get why they're doing that, but for me, I would much rather have it, Dave, when you and I are playing and trying to finish a mission, that we see another group of Division players come in.
Yeah.
Because I like that in Destiny, I like that in World of Warcraft, I like that in these games. But what this game had that those other games didn't was strong base building. What I mean by that is, as a player, every little side mission you do, every little thing you find gains resources for your main base, which then improves your opportunities in the game. You actually feel like you're helping these virtual people, and it was just a lot of fun. You don't have a lot of that in a lot of MMOs. You have that in the more recent World of Warcrafts. Like, they've really advanced that with phasing,
and they've also
like that.
and they've speaking about phasing, they've also added that in a way to kind of less condense the populace. So when you're questing, you don't have 100 people just sitting on a mob, and you're just like, come on, man. Like, I just want to get the quest done and get my XP.
There's one part of this game that we have not touched on, and Davis Bargalla, it really is your favorite bit.
It originally wasn't. I was not a big fan of it until you said, okay, we're doing it. It is the Dark Zone.
The Dark Zone. Tell us all about the real multiplayer, aggressive player versus player environment in the Division.
So what you do, you go into the Dark Zone, you enter through this little area, and then you enter the Dark Zone, and there's all kinds of other players there. You were saying that there's not a lot of other players interacting with you, but this specific part of the game, you are, and you have to go and collect these items, which are infected, and you're in the infected zone. You collect all of these items, and you call in your, your helicopter?
Yeah.
And then you have a countdown, and then all these people start trying to attack you.
They have the option to,
They have
right?
the option to,
Yeah.
yes. It's funny you say that. When we first started playing it, we went in there, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. So the first person I saw, I shot, and it says, "You have just turned rogue." I'm like, what the hell? And everybody just started shooting at us, right? Because we were on a team. We actually did really, really well until we died. But then I figured out, okay, so you go, you grab these items, and then you extract them.
And you have
with
the
this
option
helicopter.
to. Yeah.
You have the option to, yes.
To hurt other people.
To hurt other people and steal those items. I didn't really want to do that because I knew they would kill me. So I tried to avoid it until I knew they were at low health.
But it's funny because we are essentially, every game developer I talk to essentially says we have to teach players how to do different things if we want to make big change. And I think the Division is doing that because, like you said, we first came in there, we're conditioned with every game we've ever played, bad guys shoot, good guy don't shoot. And this game kind of teaches you there's a gray area with that. And I remember playing with you in the first bit, I just kind of said, what if no one shoots each other?
Yeah.
And it didn't for a while. We all just gathered items. Everyone was very cordial. And then, of course, two people came in and kind of ruined the fun for everyone else.
See, but I mean, you don't want a perfect world like that. I mean, I don't. I want to be able to go frag the nerd real quick and
See,
steal
I don't.
stuff,
I
man.
want to just
Like,
play my little game and build. I want Farmville with guns,
too
man.
bad,
That's what I
man.
want.
Too bad.
The only thing I wish is that you would have the option to choose a side.
That's pretty fun though. Like I've never played a game that's like that. That's why I think it's very innovative.
Again, it is a beta, so maybe there is going to be a team extraction or a team Dark Zone, something like that. But it was really fun. I can see it getting really repetitive, and I might see myself getting really sick of it really quick.
Really?
Yeah, just the same missions over and over again. I can just see it, but who knows? Maybe
in the Dark Zone or in the single,
the
quote unquote single player.
Yeah, the single player.
See, I agree a bit on that one because the missions are pretty rudimentary. But you think of World of Warcraft, the games I loved, it was always go to A and collect 6
total
of
grind
B.
fest.
Yeah,
total grind fest.
But people like to grind in games because you're, again, gear searching, you're getting better gear, and this has this in spades. And in this one, there's another layer. You're actually helping the world around you. So very, very excited to see what we have in this game. Another big game that I'm very excited for is, of course, Firewatch. We had the great opportunity to speak with Sean Vanaman. He is one of the lead designers. He's one of the head minds at Campo Santo who made this game. It's a new indie game coming out this Tuesday. We're going to speak with him right after this break. Thank you all for listening. Andy Burkowski, VGS. Often here on VGS, we talk about games that are a little different. They're not exactly in the mainstream. They offer something that, the AAA titles really don't. And today I'm very excited to talk about a game with one of the lead minds behind it that I think offers an experience that a lot of people haven't gotten from video games before, and they can get that for the first time. I'm speaking with Sean Vanaman, writer, designer, code founder, developer, all of these different titles for the game Firewatch. How you doing, Sean?
I'm well. Thanks for having me on.
So what am I talking about here? What is your game? Because I gave some lofty praise already. I already said this is a very different experience. I put a big bill out there. How are you going to pay for it?
It is a single-player, story-driven, very character-focused mystery set in the woods of Wyoming in 1989, and it is in first person, and you're walking around exploring a beautiful space while building a relationship with another person who's on the end of a handheld radio and uncovering a bizarre mystery as the game unfolds. That is the best way I can describe it. It's an adventure game with systems. If your listeners are have a history of playing video games, LucasArts was the king of adventure games back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I grew up playing those games. And this game is completely different than those in their design and philosophy, but we wanted to set out to make a game that was living and breathing and felt like a movie or like an HBO TV show or something, but also transported us the way those games used to. That's the best way I can describe it.
A very excellent way to do it. So visually, this game, Firewatch, is very, very striking. The first extended trailers that came out from it showed an art style that I hadn't really seen before. It borrows from different ideas, but it is ridiculously unique. How would you describe how Firewatch looks?
Gosh, that's a great question. That's a difficult question, I should say. So Firewatch takes a lot of inspiration in its look from old sort of WPA posters of a certain era of Americana. And then those are posters, I guess, in a design sense. It's kind of back in vogue now when people are, when the National Forest Service is talking about getting people outside, or Yellowstone National Park wants people to come visit. But it's sort of through this lens of our art director and 2D designer, Ollie Moss, and our 3D artist and art director, Jane Ng, who look at those sort of inspirations and then want to build an outdoor space that is the one that your mind and body remembers without striving for perfect realism. That's sort of the way we design everything, and the sort of the philosophy behind the art, the story, the controls is just simplified naturalism with a focus on tone. What does your mind's eye remember that trip you took to Yosemite feeling like? And then we make it look like that. So it's very vibrant. It's color palettes that are very carefully chosen, really dramatic lighting, just sort of a celebration of the outdoors, I guess, the way I would describe it.
Now, there's a huge amount of focus on this game, I think, from the gaming media. A lot of people want to get their hands on it. It's the same type of focus that you usually find on the AAA titles that have 120 people working on them. How many people are working at Campo Santo?
Oh, man. So we are, I can tell you 13 human beings have touched the code base.
Okay, all right.
But we're 7 or 8, I think, here in San Francisco. We have a designer, programmer in Vancouver, and a couple guys, Ollie, the aforementioned art director, and a guy named James, who's an animator in England, and that's it. So we're like, we fluctuate around 10 to 12, depending. We're very, very, very small, like by design. It allows us to just move at a really rapid pace and build a shorthand with each other and not get sort of overwhelmed by our own size and ambition. Even though sometimes we still are. But, yeah, we're pretty small. And co-founder of Campo Santo, Jake Rodkin, and I worked at a previous studio that was much larger, but we were lucky enough to sort of be on projects through their entire phase of development and get out in front of them and market them and learn about how to really do the work that a giant AAA game would do to make people know about their game. So we kind of built that into our company philosophy starting from ground zero, which is like, we are an entertainment company. So if we are telling people about our game, it must be entertaining, it must be beautiful, it must be surprising at all times, whether it's a trailer we put out or art we put up or an event we throw. It's always through that lens of like, what's going to be entertaining for the people who are ultimately going to want to buy this game. So that's kind of how I think maybe this has come along. Also, a lot of good fortune, and a lot of like old relationships. And we're just, I cannot wait for this game to come out. Like, we're done with it, so we're just doing PR and marketing and little bug fixing here and there, and we're adding a really cool like secret feature, and we're just like doing all that sort of stuff. But like, man, I just want it to be out. Like, I want it to be out so badly. It's killing me.
Again,
I'm
speaking with
about it.
oh, there we go. Sorry to interrupt there. Speaking with Sean Vanaman, one of the co-founders of Campo Santo, behind the game Firewatch, the game everyone's talking about. You used a word there that I think really describes what people want from this game, and I think beautiful is not a word that we use often enough when talking about this industry. Why do you think this game has really captured the minds of so many people when it comes to that? Because that's a word I hear a lot, that this game looks beautiful. It's a word to describe not only the art style, but even like the gameplay mechanics, the role of narrative. How does that term apply to Firewatch?
I think it's almost a placeholder for, I think if it was another game, people would say that it was sort of it was artistic or an indie art house game, but we've really tried to make sure that this game just doesn't categorize itself that way, that it's a very like attention-grabbing story with like really engaging dialogue and characters in beautiful places, and it doesn't sort of insist upon itself as like a piece of art. Not to say that it's not art. Like, I don't know. It's not my position to say, but like the people playing the game and being entertained and wondering what's going to happen next is like all that matters to us. So not like the grand vision or the message. Obviously that stuff exists and is the things that drive us when we're working on our own. But I think people go to beautiful because it is, like, I think Jane and Ollie and our graphics programmers have just done an amazing job. But I think it's because it doesn't look like I don't know, like an art. It's not like Truffaut. It's not like a indie niche cinema. It presents itself as something more mainstream, and I hope people I hope it turns out to be that. That was always the goal.
All right, we'll have more on Firewatch with Sean Vanaman from Campo Santo, talking more about this game right after the break. Andy Burkowski, VGS Talk Radio, AM 640. This is Andy Burkowski on VGS Talk Radio, AM 640. We're speaking with Sean Vanaman, one of the co-founders at Campo Santo, all about the upcoming game, Firewatch. He doesn't want you to call it an indie. He doesn't want you to call it an art house film. He just wants you to call it good. And I
I
think
just
that's
wanted you to call it that game I bought.
there. Well, yeah, there's that too. But a lot of people, we talked about it.
What you call it?
We talked about before the break. A lot of people are really excited about it, and we talked about the art style, the beauty that's involved. I want to touch on a little bit more the way that you guys are trying to express narrative in Firewatch. How will we as players be experiencing the story of Firewatch?
Yeah, so when we set out to figure out how we wanted to tell a story in a game that wasn't like how we had made games before, Jake and I were writers and creative leads on the first season of the Walking Dead game that some people may have played at Telltale. So we knew that we wanted it to be that level of engaging in regards to the character dynamics and what was going to happen next in your role in the story. But we also knew we wanted to make this game where exploration was key and that we never or like hardly ever take control away from you. So you can walk and explore while the story's happening around you. And those were like very interesting challenges. They were almost in direct conflict with each other because sometimes you just have to say, stop, this story's happening to you now. But we didn't want that to be the case. And we also didn't want this to be a game where you were wandering through an empty space without people and without an active, like trying to figure out what has happened. You know, I love games like that. And there's a lot of great sort of like what has happened here style adventure games. But our game is really about a story that is happening directly to you that you're reacting and responding to while you explore. So the game's really mission focused. We sort of say like, go to this place on the map and discover this thing or accomplish this goal. And along the way, you can talk about anything you see or the things that happen to you and the places you are in with your boss, this woman named Delilah. And I guess I haven't said the main character's name, but you play as Henry. And you can talk to your main boss, Delilah, and build this relationship with her as you go to these places and things happen to you. So it's very fluid and also built upon sort of surprise. Like you don't know what's going to be, what's going to happen when you get to this place, and how are you going to react to those things. You make decisions through dialogue trees. You can manipulate objects in the world to make story happen. You can unlock doors and figure out what's beyond them. There's sort of lots of different ways that we push the story forward or sort of like urge you to push the story forward, I should say.
That's such a difficult task, even for these massive, massive teams of hundreds of people trying to make a story in a world that you can explore but has a strong narrative pushing you ahead. For such a small team, what did you guys figure out, I guess, early on was the right way to create a guided narrative, but still give the player enough time to, you know, play with that turtle on the pond without completely destroying, you know, the sense of story? Because I'm looking at these worlds, I've seen so many trailers, and it looks so beautiful. And there's a lot of times when I want to continue my conversation with Delilah, a lot more when I just want to, you know, explore a little bit. Where's that line, and how'd you guys find that?
I mean, the goal is really is in the player verbs that you select, right? So being able to communicate to her is your number one verb, along with all the exploration stuff, being able to pick things up and bring them around with you. But that's always something. That was the first thing. It's like, okay, if we let you pick something up, like, what can you throw it? Can you throw everything? Can you take everything? Can you, like, can you rotate it in your hands and find something new about it? Those are all the verbs we give you. So those create the possibility space for all the things that can happen. And then we just really try to say yes to as many of the things as possible that players might want to do. And if we find ourselves being like, man, players really want to like destroy this object that is really important to the story, how do we prevent them from doing that without taking that verb away? And we just sit around and figure it out, you know.
Just that simple, eh?
So, I mean, it's a lot easier said than done, obviously, but, you know, and then if we can figure it out, we go, okay, well, maybe that can't happen. Like we build a rule set for ourselves where that type of interaction is something that can't drive the story forward. So how else can the player discover this crazy thing, you know? And then you just go back to the drawing board. You say, well, I've got a crazy idea. What if this happens? And it's like, yeah, that fits right within our verb set for the game, and that doesn't break anything else, and that's even more surprising, and wow, that's even better than the idea we had before. There's only a couple ideas in the game where I'm like, man, that's not the best idea we had, but it's the one that we went with. I can think of maybe one or two things, but normally that process of over the hundreds and hundreds of creative decisions you make on the game, just ends up yielding the thing that fits and is the best and is the most surprising and entertaining. So
you're telling me that I can pick up that turtle, look at it round on it, and then have something different to say to the other character, Delilah?
You can make decisions about that turtle that will impact things about it, and you can bring it home with you. You can put it somewhere else in the world. You can throw it in the lake. You can throw it in the canyon, and hopefully stuff will happen, depending on where you are in the story. And, if there's, a good example is, if you're hiking through the woods and you're on this sort of a jovial quest to, I got to go deal with these campers that are causing trouble. And you find that turtle, and maybe you talk to Delilah about it, and you have a goof, and then you name it, and then you decide you're going to, chuck it in the lake, and then something surprising happens. That's great. But maybe later in the story, that would be totally, tonally inappropriate, right? Maybe you and Delilah have discovered something really sinister, and, when you find this turtle, joking about it, and then another joke happening when you decide to put it in your backpack doesn't really fit with the that would break the story. We just have to know that stuff. We sort of manage the tone of the story at all times. So it's here's when jokes can happen, here's when jokes are replaced with more dramatic dialogue, and it's just sort of another timeline that we're managing as we're watching you play the game. And the game's segmented intelligently. It's broken into chapters, even though it's a free world, open roaming game. But there are some areas you can't get to, and some days that end before you've returned back to your tower. It's just a giant spreadsheet of stuff, really. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just so many lines of code and so many if this. And then you do that for a couple of years, and then you have a Firewatch, and you're done.
Listen up, folks. That's what it takes to make one of the most highly anticipated games of the year.
Yeah.
Well, I love the idea. Well, I wanted to ask, because I don't know if this has been entirely confirmed, and maybe this is even the wrong question to ask because you're looking at this in a different perspective. But because there's so many different choices, and it's about very much a relationship between two people, will there be some dramatic differences in that relationship felt throughout the story if you do make some kind of egregious choices early on or throughout the tale?
Yeah, we try not to telegraph these egregious choices, because I think it's always more powerful when you wait half an hour and you go, I wonder if maybe I should have kept that to myself.
Yeah.
Because the dynamic here is different than I thought it was going to be. Or oh, I'm really glad I shared that piece of information with her, because now she's really opening up to me in a really fascinating way. And I'm learning all this other stuff about this character, and it maybe pertains to the plot of the mystery that's happening. And that's something that's stuff I really like. So, there's the plot events, and this is the stuff that's going to happen to Henry and Delilah over the course of the game. And then there's the relationship, and how those things are both connected and totally not connected produces really interesting meaning, and I like that stuff. I've always really liked making games like that. And Firewatch is just a bigger exploration and examination of that sort of thing. But I was trying to think. I kind of walked myself in a full circle there when answering your question. But yeah, I think what I was going to end with is that when people finish the game, there's always a comparing and contrasting of story of what was your story like and what was my story like. And a lot of that ends up just being I thought this is what was happening. This is what I felt about this person. And this is what I feel about these characters now. And those things are so different with different people. It's so funny. It's a game that when you put two people who played it in the same room and go, okay, what do you think about Delilah? What do you think about this thing that happened? What do you think is going to happen next? Real arguments start, and I really like that a lot.
Well, again, it's so fascinating. For someone who's listening that maybe doesn't really understand why you want to have a relationship with a fake person in a forest in the 80s, because I'm trying to kind of make a compelling case as best I can. You're the person that, this is your baby. Why do you think this would appeal to people that really love other forms of media that's high quality? You talked about HBO. You talked about these intense series. Why is Firewatch in that category just as much as it is, in your opinion, a great game?
Yeah, I mean, because I think, to answer your question, I think we build relationships with those characters all the time, like when I was like legitimately in sort of a malaise for a couple days when Mad Men was over. I'm like, those characters are gone now. And I didn't like a lot of those characters, but I looked forward to seeing them. And it just so happens that games haven't really done a good job of like making you miss their characters too much. Some of them do wonderfully. Like I think the Uncharted series was great at that. I think The Last of Us is great at that. The name two Naughty Dog games, I guess. It's just not something that video games are known for. But I think if characters are believable and the story is really tight and compelling, then when it's gone and over, you miss them, And I think that was our. We didn't say that explicitly inside the office because I think people would have laughed at me. They would have been like, "That's gonna be so hard." But ultimately, I think that was what our goal has been. When I look back at the decisions we made and the sort of ethos we had in making design decisions across the board. So if you're the type of person who just binge watches Jessica Jones on Netflix or finds themselves completely taken by certain characters on Game of Thrones or whatever, this is probably a game for you because it means that you like to transport yourself to places where there are interesting characters, and we've tried to accomplish that with the game.
Very, very exciting. Again, thank you so much, Sean Vanaman, one of the co-founders at Campo Santo, talking all about the title Firewatch. What, in your estimation, do you believe this game should give players? You work so hard. You talked about all the man hours. What is your big payoff now in terms of a player experience?
I mean, just a really exciting entertainment experience, just a fulfilling, that sort of feeling when you close the cover on a good book or the credits roll on a movie and you go, that was really satisfying, it's over. That's it. That's what we're always going for, whether it's this game or the next game. If a game comes out on February 9th on PSN and Steam, and it'll be available for PC, Mac, and Linux on Steam, and when you're done with it that week, maybe, or whenever you get around to finishing it, if you feel that way, we did it, success. Probably a little bit of it's over. Oh no, but I want more. That's the goal. Not something that you sort of get lost in the middle and you go, I really like that game, but I kind of lost my attention. I have so many games like that I absolutely love that I've never finished. This game, we want it to be a sort of a satisfying conclusion. And I think when you get to the end, it will be. We really put a lot of time and effort into thinking about that last feeling you have when the credits roll.
Cannot wait to explore the wilderness of Wyoming. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining the program.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
This is Andy Burkowski on VGS. Make sure you pick up Firewatch February 9th. Andy Burkowski, VGS.
This is VGS with Andy and Dave on Talk Radio, AM 640.
Thank you again for listening to our program. Big round of applause for everyone in the studio. Huge thanks. Matt the intern, Frank the intern. Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Frank, thank you very much for joining the program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And again, for setting up all of our video content, you can see that on YouTube. Just type in VGS or video game sophistry. This show, we had so much to pack in. We had to do some real tough cuts. It was difficult. It hurt us both, right, Dave? He's shaking his head.
Very tough.
Very, very tough. If you want to see the entire show in every uncut moment, go to 640toronto.com/VGS. A big thanks to our main guest, our big interview this week, Sean Vanaman, all about Firewatch. Pick it up. Comes out on Tuesday. Next week, we talk about Fallout with Fergus Urquhart, one of the minds at Obsidian. I'm Andy Burkowski.
I'm Shaggy Dave.
And this is VGS on Talk Radio, AM 640.
Without a doubt, the worst episode ever. Rest assured.